Hello all, this is JC3 from Is This Real? Do you want to start your own podcast? Then look no further than Buzzsprout.com. We here at Green Hour Media use Buzzsprout, and we love the team at Buzzsprout. They are all about helping you succeed. Buzzsprout gets your show listed in every major podcast platform. Follow the link in our show notes to let Buzzsprout know that we sent you. It gets you a $20 paid Amazon gift card if you sign up with a paid plan and helps support our show. Join us and over 100,000 podcasters already using Buzzsprout.com to get your message out to the world. Welcome everybody to another episode of Is This Real? As always, again, I keep saying this, I know it's starting to get boring, but I'm your host, Joe. I got Joe over there. And for another week now, we have Anthony with us today. What's up, Ant?
Not a whole hell of a lot, Joe. And you should never say that you're bored. You know, you're the host. Be it with pride.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This week, we have a very interesting topic, and it has nothing to do with any political shit or anything like that. This week, we're doing the darkest secrets of the Vatican. What do you think about that, Dad?
It's a really interesting subject because there's a lot of mysticism about the Vatican. You know, for all the good stuff that it does, you know, I think there's an equal amount of bad stuff that's going on there, and I think it dates back a long, long time.
How long?
I think as far as, you know, whenever you talk about the Vatican, the popes, and everything else, there's a lot of stuff that they did through the years. The Inquisition comes to mind. Different stuff that they killed people for no reason. They, if you didn't believe it their way, it was, it's their way or their highway. You know, and it's not only the popes.
Well, it was a typical reigning empire of their time.
Exactly. You know, and it goes on as far back now as Fatima, and I want to get into that a little bit later on. What my opinion is about Fatima, and I'm also going to bring up some Malachi Martin for you who are not familiar with him. I'll explain to you who he is later.
All right, Ant, your take.
I love discussing the Vatican. One of my favorite, genre of novels is any type of, heist that takes place in the Vatican or something like that. I love religious artifacts because of the mysticism, like Dad said.
Yeah.
And I just think it's creepy as shit. And it's weird because there's a duality between the art and the beauty of it and what it's supposed to mean versus the darkness that's definitely there.
Well, you're also talking about the Dan Brown books, right?
Yeah, Dan Brown's Da Vinci Code and History of Religion and Hidden Meanings in Art and stuff like that. There was another book similar called Thieves of Heaven, where a guy had to bust into the Vatican to steal it. It was the key to Heaven's Gate to save his wife or something like that. But it wasn't as good, but it played with the similar idea.
What I like most about the Dan Brown books was how he the intricate details that he had to actually study all this shit to try and have a shadow of it out to piece it all together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's interesting, but Dan Brown wasn't... it's hard because he does a lot of research, but he also makes a lot of assumptions.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like stargazing, right? If you connect the stars in the right pattern, you'll see a picture, but you're doing those connections yourself.
Well, to get us started, I'm reading this list off of a page called grunge.com, and it says the darkest secrets of the Vatican revealed. Now, they have this one, the first to go off on this was their first subject, I guess you call it. It's called The Secrets of the Vatican Secret Archives. Now, they don't have a lot to talk about in that particular subject, but there's so much history in those archives that if they were ever to be revealed, we don't know what the world would think about it.
See, that's the whole thing, because you don't know, and you're never going to get down there. There's no way. I mean, you got scholars and stuff that can get into the Vatican on a need-to-know basis, but you're going to have to really kiss a lot of butt to get in there. And, they're just not going to open up the Vatican where you have papers and you have documents that are, 600-700 years old that are being preserved down there.
Yeah.
And then even with the popes now, I believe the Pope, you got to wait 70 years to get, after the Pope is dead, to get into his paperwork to see what he's done and whatever. And, it may be 60 years, I'm not sure, but it's this is part of it. There's really no transparency with the Catholic Church. And I think over time, this has been one of their biggest weaknesses. I really do.
This is actually interesting. They're saying that there's been a lot of people claiming that the archives contain evidence of extraterrestrial life.
Possibly.
Proof Jesus never actually existed.
Wow.
And the true secret name of God, which apparently has been passed down from Pope to Pope since 463 AD.
Well, there you go. There's no transparency.
Wait, I'm sorry, the true secret name of what?
God.
Oh.
Which I don't know if there is. It's a weird like dart to throw into the air.
Mm-hmm.
I actually never heard something like that before. Like I never heard somebody say, "Well, there's an actual name to God," and like every pope knows it.
See, that goes back to Joey. We were talking about ghosts on a previous episode. Again, there is no proof. You don't have a shred of evidence of any of this stuff in there, just a computer screen with somebody saying this. I can say, well, he has, whatever in there, and it doesn't matter as long as, if I can't prove it, it's just speculation. But what I can prove is the fact that they will not let people in there. And again, you only get in there at a certain need-to-know basis. And that right there lends itself to stories. It lends itself to a lot of crazy stuff. But again, it's all speculation. There is stuff there. You can see it when they walk through the wall. There's been tours of the Vatican archives where you can see, they have books and shelves that go forever.
My question is, and this is to both of you, I don't know, because I don't know this, and I don't know if you guys know this, maybe you've done a little bit more research, but is it true that they do keep like documents sealed in like air conditioned rooms or some shit like that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is that with any type of big government thing or like?
Well, our important documents in Washington are kept in a vacuum place, and they're heat sensitive, and there's you just can't. You're not going to go in there and touch them. That's just not going to happen. There's
right. It's air pressure sensitive, and also they're in climate controlled rooms.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The second subject on this webpage is apparently the Vatican has an army of exorcists. Close claiming to have Well, in age, modern psychology, and neuroscience, it would be easy to dismiss exorcism, but apparently the Father Gabriel Amorth,
Yep.
the former chief exorcist of the Vatican, who died in 2016, claimed to have performed over a staggering 130,000 exorcisms in his time.
That's a pretty big number. That's
a lot of fucking demons.
Wasn't can we put that in quotes where he said he died? Wasn't he pushed out a window?
No. Father Amorth,
here we go.
The guy that was actually pushed. Again, we don't know this for a fact, but that would have been Malachi Martin.
Oh, okay.
Malachi Martin was a Jesuit priest who was very close to Pope John. He was a Vatican insider, and he stumbled across some stuff that maybe he wasn't supposed to be, and that's a part of it I want to get into later about the Satanism in the Vatican.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, so in 2018, the Vatican welcomed 250 priests from around the world to an annual exorcism school. because the church believes that there has been an uptick in demonic possessions in recent years. Even Pope Francis himself, and I'm guessing this was when... Wait, is Francis the Pope now? No, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Okay. Even Pope Francis himself said that people must not hesitate to see an exorcist in the case of genuine spiritual disturbances.
Right.
So 250 priests? What the hell?
Well, see, again, I've been following this for a long time, and I've never heard of an army of them. Now, if the army that they're talking about is around the world, then I can believe that, because I know for a fact that every diocese in the country has an exorcist
On call
that they can just, go to. But again, with exorcism, it's so... How do I say this? It's... everything else has to be ruled out.
Yeah.
You can't just say, well, you know what, he choked on a whatever and he's possessed. There's protocol that has to be done. And, these priests that go into that, they go into the exorcism part, are very, very pious priests. They are called to do this, because it's not something that you're just going to say, fill out an application and tomorrow, pick up your check. It doesn't work that way. There's certain rules that have to be followed, because again, especially in this day and age where you got to worry about where, you might say somebody's possessed and then you give them some kind of, some treatment or whatever, and he dies. You're opening yourself up to a lawsuit.
Yeah.
So it's a sticky situation.
This little like paragraph at the end here. Is despite the controversy tied to exorcism due to its sensational nature, and claims of abuse in their execution, such rites have been carried out even by popes in modern times. According to Father Amorth, John Paul II tried and failed to drive a demon out of a woman who was brought before him in St. Peter's Square, screaming, writhing, that's a word? Writhing, yeah, and drooling in 2000. Father Amorth claims the woman was still possessed when he saw her later that day, as evidenced by her ability to walk up the wall like Spider-Man, and so he had to finish off what JP II couldn't. Likewise, Amorth claims Benedict XVI slammed the devil out of two guys in 2009, and some suspect Pope Francis may have performed a public exorcism on a man in a wheelchair in 2013.
Right.
I'm sorry, did you say he slammed the demon out?
Yeah, the guy said Amorth claims Benedict XVI slammed the demon out of two guys, like he straight up jackhammered two gentlemen.
It sounds like he body slammed him like Hulk Hogan.
I just love how they call him JP II.
Well, I'll tell you a little bit about Father Amorth. He was actually, I did not so much research, but I watched a few videos about him, and he was a no-nonsense kind of guy. He didn't give a rat's ass.
Didn't they have the movie The Devil and Me, or whatever the hell that was about him? No,
that was The Rite. The movie The Rite was loosely based on him.
No, wasn't there a documentary about it was the same director of The Exorcist, and he did a documentary, I think, about Father Amorth.
I didn't see it. If it is,
it's called The Devil in Me or some shit like that.
I don't know. I don't.
All right, Satan, knock your shit off. Let's go.
He didn't take shit. I mean, he was actually caught on tape actually laughing at a certain point, because he
at a demon. That takes some fucking balls.
Well, you know what? These guys are so hardened by this stuff at this point.
I'm sorry, if I see somebody walk up the wall like Spider-Man, I'm shitting.
True. I'm not laughing at that.
Yeah, I'm not laughing at all. I'm leaving.
If there was an army of people like Amarth and Ed Warren, where they just laugh in demons' faces and like, all right, enough your shit, the world would be a better place.
Get the fuck off the ceiling and hit him with a broom.
Wow. Yeah. All right, I think what we're doing is we're getting a little off. We're making this more like an exorcist type of thing. When I want to end the program with that.
No, I'm going to the next subject. Right. So the next subject is the many scandals of Vatican Bank.
Oh God, yeah.
All right, so the Vatican Bank, formerly known as the Institutum Pro Orbius, the Institute for the Works of Religion. I'm not reading all that Latin shit.
Okay.
Is a financial body riddled with scandal. The Catholic Church's primary financial institution has been embroiled In so many scandals since its founding in 1942, Business Insider was able to make a tidy little top 5 list based on the 2015 book God's Bankers.
Right.
Excuse me. The bank was created during World War II to avoid the restrictions placed on financial transactions by the Allies, and as a result, the Vatican Bank, being exempt from such restrictions, became the world's best offshore bank. That's fucking weird.
And there's been also reports of money laundering, and there was reports basically of,
here. Since
counterfeiting.
Since that time, the Vatican Bank has become pretty notorious for its connections to organized crime, who used the Vatican's sovereignty to escape the scrutiny of world banks in the 1970s. It's alleged the Vatican tried to purchase $900 million worth of counterfeit bonds and securities from a mafia-linked operation. And in 2013, a priest was arrested for trying to use the Vatican Bank to smuggle millions of euros for the mob.
Yep.
The most famous The most famous of the Vatican mafia scandals, however, is the collapse of Banco Abruzzano. Yeah, an Italian bank in which the Vatican was a main shareholder, and which it used to launder money for the mafia.
Right.
After Abruzzano's collapse, its chairman, who some people believed murdered Pope John Paul I, was found hanged under a bridge, which was concluded to be a mob murder, dressed up like suicide.
Okay, you're absolutely right. This stuff does happen. It has happened, and there's many, many more resources that you can dig up for this. But in no way, you can't sit there and say that, well, the Pope is responsible for this.
Do you think he knew about it, though?
No, I do not. I do not believe that the Pope is going to be any Pope. I mean, I'm not saying all popes are... There's been a lot of bad popes. There's been a lot of popes that you're just like, you criminal motherfucker. Okay, but these...
Like Pope Potato Head.
Okay, the last couple of popes, going back to Pope John and Pope Pius, no way. I can't for the love of me...
Pope John Paul II probably is like the pinnacle of popes for people these days.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Hey, Ryan. Hi, this is Sarah Palin.
Ryan, Donald Trump Jr.
Hogs to win, see you. Hey, everybody, I want y'all to check out a fellow Marines podcast.
My name is Ted Nugent, and I got a call from my buddy Ryan F. Samuels, and he wants me to tell you that he's a working hard, playing all-American son of a who is celebrating God, family, country.
Welcome to the Ryan Samuels Show, one of the top political podcasts in the United States, where we have a healthy distrust for government and mainstream media. The Ryan Samuels Show is a raw, unfiltered look at American politics.
He had a long run. Don't forget, he had a long run. He was, from the 70s, till 2000 or something. I
think it was 2009.
He was there, and he made a lot of people that loved the man. I can't sit here and tell you that I'm going to say that I know for a fact that the popes know about what was going on. Look, where there's money, there's going to be larceny. That's just the way it is. Now, the Pope...
That's a lot of money, though.
Yeah, well, the Pope might have had an inkling of what's going on.
$900 million of counterfeit.
The Pope will only be in the know for what the people tell him. Unless he's going to go there and, do the research himself and sit there and say, open your books to the Vatican Bank. I'm sorry, but the Pope is surrounded by people, and not all of them have been honest over time.
Well, yeah, obviously. All right, so
what's the quote by St. Carlin? Organized religion and organized crime
working together to build a better world.
So the next subject is the Vatican smuggled Nazis to safety.
Yes,
following Allied victories in Germany at the end of World War II, Nazis suddenly found Europe a pretty inhospitable place for them and began to seek refuge elsewhere. Thousands of high-ranking Nazi officials, many of whom were war criminals, and the rest of whom were at best Nazis, managed to escape across the Atlantic to a number of South American countries, most notably Brazil, Chile, and Argentina. Most of these escapees managed to make their way out of Europe using routes through either Spain or Italy, known as rat lines.
Right.
As a Guardian article on a book by Harvard researcher Gerald Steinacker Steinecker, there, shows some of the travel documents that ended up in the Nazis' hands were given out by an overwhelmed or occasionally over-sympathetic Red Cross, but many Nazi refugees were knowingly assisted by the Vatican.
Yeah.
So, and then that brings us to the next subject. The Vatican made off with the Vatican made money off of the Holocaust.
In what way?
I'll read it right here. So, in addition to smuggling actual Nazis out of Europe and into South America, there is little doubt the Vatican also used its privileged sovereignty to help smuggle Nazi-looted gold, art, and other property belongs to Jewish families and other victims of the Holocaust. Excuse me again. As Gerald Posner explains...
Who?
Gerald Posner.
Okay, time out. Before we go any further, I want the people, whoever's listening to this, to do yourself a whole lot of research on Gerald Posner. The guy hasn't got anything right in his entire career. Okay? He is... and I say that, you know, he's basically, if it's an official story coming out of the government, he backs it. Okay, there's no room for anybody else's view but Gerald Posner, and that's all I'm going to say on that one. So I'm going to take this one with a grain of salt.
Okay. So as Gerald Posner explains in an opinion piece in the Washington Post, efforts to get the Vatican to involve themselves in restitution efforts or even to open their war-era archives have been roundly rebuffed since at least the Clinton administration. In his books, God's Bankers, however, Posner investigates the possibility the war-era Vatican was up to something that was shockingly and possibly somehow even grosser than helping Nazis keep looted family heirlooms they had stolen from the murder victims. The Vatican's financial advisor, Bernardino Nogaro, yeah, there you go, the founder of the Vatican Bank, is said to have potentially been on the Third Reich's spies in the Vatican. And though the destruction of wartime records make the full scope of his plan unclear, he and the Nazis are alleged to have instituted a scheme wherein the Vatican invested in Italian insurance companies which kept all the assets from life insurance plans of murdered European Jews, because the Vatican was just an investor and not the direct insurer. They didn't have to pay the bank any of the money they made in the scheme. If you think gambling on the lives of Jewish people, stealing from their heirs, and directly profiting from the Holocaust is the most coolest thing you can think of, well, you're right. So what do you think?
About too big to fail.
Yeah, you know, again, I'm going to go back to where the same part as the bank. Who, if this is true, you know, where does the buck stop? Now, a lot of people say, well, it stops at the Pope because he is the all, you know, he's the boss.
The next step is like God, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but he's supposedly the boss.
You're not going to blame God.
Again, what's the old saying, you know, about information, garbage in, garbage out? If the Pope isn't getting the right information and kept in the dark, the Pope's not going to know. And you know, you'd have to go back and do really heavy research on whoever was the Pope at that time. Now, does that absolve the church as a whole? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. But again, I'm coming at it strictly from, you know, I'm playing devil's advocate, to pun a phrase here, you know, for the Pope. I just can't see pinning all this stuff on the Pope itself. But, you know, at some point, the Catholic Church has to start getting honest and have to give the Pope the correct information. And, you know, he can only do so much. He can only get what he can get told. And, you know, that's basically, I don't have any more to say on that one.
So we have 3 more subjects with this. This one's called the Vatican's $5 million cover-up.
Okay.
In light of allegations of aiding and abetting the Third Reich, laundering money for organized crime, smuggling gold to help overthrow regimes, and seamlessly countless abuse scandals, the idea of misappropriating tens of millions of dollars seems positively quaint by comparison, but nevertheless a scandal and subsequent a cover-up regarding some
spendthrift monks.
Oh, you're reading with me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Spendthrift monks in the 1970s proved to be very costly for the Vatican in terms of both money and reputation. As reported by the New York Times, members of a monastic order. Yeah, monastic. There you go. Monastic order in Philadelphia known as the Paulines. Raised money, in fact, millions of dollars for religious projects such as saying masses, building shrines, and renovating a cemetery, and did not actually do any of those things. Instead, these monks used the funds to purchase cars, television, stereos, and other luxury items a bunch of dudes who had taken a vow of poverty probably shouldn't have. The vicar general used misappropriated donations to keep a mistress, which feels like at least a double no-no, i.e. a no-no-no-no, as well as stealing half the salaries of friends whom he had appointed to monastery jobs.
It seems to me that the Catholic Church has to start getting somebody to police the Catholic Church. But then again...
Dude, that could be our job. We could be the Vatican police.
You know, well, I'm not going to dress in that stupid hat that the clothes they wear that the Swiss Guard wears. That's not going to happen.
No, not Vatican police. We could be priest police.
Priest police.
That's going to be the title of our show. Priest police.
Okay.
Despite stealing over $20 million in donations, the Paulines still managed to default on over $4 million in church bonds. The only way they were able to avoid lawsuits, bankruptcy, and criminal prosecution was through the intervention of the Pope and the Archbishop of Philadelphia, who dished out over $5 million to quiet the Paulines' creditors and pay back the fraudulent loans.
Well, that right there, it would have to come from the Pope.
Who Anthony's right. Who paid for that, though?
Well, the Catholic Church paid for him. All money has to be funneled through in lawsuits like that, unless the Pope is a blithering idiot, he's gonna, when he asks for, let me see the books at the end of the month, he's gonna see $5 million missing, and he's gonna want to know where that came from. And
do you think they actually
see all the receipts?
I want all the receipts.
Yeah, I'm saying, do you think they keep receipts like that shit?
They keep everything.
I want to know who's in charge of that. Well, I wouldn't want to be the person in charge of being the bookkeeper for the church.
Well, who approved the church to have a MasterCard? Because they don't deserve it.
See, that's where the Pope, he's got to... The Pope has got to take everything and say to everybody, look, here's the way we do. I want to see the goddamn books for everything, okay? And if a goddamn penny is missing, somebody's going to get their ass kicked. That's what he's got to do.
Well, you can't turn around and dish out $5 million to quiet creditors and shit like that.
Well, you know what? The Pope has been there and dished out a lot of money to quiet, pedophile priests.
Everyone?
Yeah, seriously.
There's been billions or millions of dollars that the Vatican has been sending to victims of whatever. So yeah, the Pope in this case, the Pope is definitely guilty. I don't care what Pope it is, because the Pope is the one that's going to sign off on the checks. He's got to know this, and I'm pretty sure
he signs it as the Pope.
I don't know, but they got a picture of Ratzinger here, and that guy is just one scary looking dude.
It's funny.
Pope Nazi the First.
You have no idea how badly, you don't see movies like that. You see mob movies. Let's make a 1970s Vatican movie of all the shit that's happened in the Vatican. I want Robert De Niro to play the Pope.
Yeah, can you see that?
Are you praying to me? I see no one else here. You must be praying to me.
All right, so the next subject is leaking the Vatican secrets.
That's a no-no.
In 2012, Italian journalist Gianluigi Nuzzi published a book called His Holiness, The Secret Papers of Benedict XVI.
Hold on, I got to ask a question. Is all the people that are involved in the Vatican that are in high places all Italian?
No.
Well,
I'm sorry, but Gianluigi Nuzzi...
No, he's an Italian journalist, not involved in the Vatican.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got to get my glasses. Okay.
Yeah, not all popes are Italian.
No, I know that.
So I'll get back. In 2012, Italian journalist Gianluigi Nuzzi published a book called "His Holiness: The Secret Papers of Pope Pope Benedict XVI," which is made up of pieces of private correspondence and other classified documents of the then Pope leaked to Nuzzi by Benedict's personal butler. This book revealed an inside look at the inner workings of the Vatican not normally offered to the public. Including...
the Pope has a butler?
Yeah, probably. He can't get up and clean his own robe. Smedley! Including, as the Huffington Post explains, evidence of widespread corruption and revelations the Holy See is home to rampart jealousy and backstabbing.
I absolutely agree with that 100%.
The leak scandal became known as VatiLeaks. God damn it.
Wow.
Because of course it did. Even wilder, though, is as The Guardian explains, when the Vatican started an internal investigation into the leak of these documents, they uncovered that individuals outside the Vatican were blackmailing an underground network of gay prelates who were allegedly holding gay orgies in villas, beauty parlors, and saunas in and around Rome. Many, including Pope Benedict's brother, believe the stress from these accumulating scandals contributed to Benedict's decision to resign from the papacy. This conclusion seems completely reasonable.
Well, makes sense. Shit gets leaked and, I'm out.
But, what the hell's going around the Vatican?
That's going to be our next segment. As soon as we're done with this, I want to go right into that, because you're not going to believe what I'm going to tell you.
What, most of the people and most of the uppers people?
Let's finish this first.
A second round of leaks, known naturally as VatiLeaks 2, hit Jesus Christ. Hit in 2015, again with a book by Nuzzi at the center of it. But as the New York asserts, the sequel didn't have quite the same spicy excitement of round one. Whereas the original VatiLeaks showed Benedict as overwhelmed and unable to control the cyclone of corruption around him, the second set of documents focused on Francis as a bold reformer trying to clean house within the Vatican bureaucracy. Sadly, no orgies is in this one either. Yay, Pope Potato Head.
I'm going to leave this alone. I mean, I understand they just got a softball lobbed to me, but I'm going to leave it alone.
And the last one is the Vatican Secret Court for Super Bad Sins.
Dun, dun, dun.
Sounds like, a black film.
Excuse me?
His sins were super bad.
Oh, okay.
About sins are super bad sins.
In the Catholic court justice system. Come on, Ian, do it. Say it for our people.
I don't have it in front of me.
Aw. In the Catholic court justice system, some offenses are considered especially heinous. In Vatican City, the dedicated bishops of the what is that word? Extra legal tribunal who investigate these vicious sins are members of an elite squad known as the apostolic penitentiary. Dun dun. These are their stories. As the Telegraph explains, I can't say that word. Can you say that word?
Not on that page anymore, but it's probably Apple. Yeah, okay. No, I can't say the word. Just go on.
The penitentiary, also known as the Tribunal of Conscience, was founded by Pope Alexander III in 1179 and was basically shrouded in secrecy until 2009. The tribunal hears cases regarding sins so grievous, only the Pope can grant the absolution for them.
Right.
Considering normal priests and bishops can apparently deal with confessions of genocide, you might wonder what kind of megasins get brought before this secret court. So if you're a regular pope, Hitler could come up to you and say, yeah, I want to be good again. And a regular priest, you can absolve Hitler. But the Pope would be like, nah, I'm good.
If Hitler... No, Hitler would say... I'm sorry, the Pope would be like, my schedules are full. Talking to my secretary.
So examples of these mega sins include attempting to assassinate the Pope.
We've had that.
Who?
You don't remember the guy who shot Pope John Paul II?
No.
Why do you think they made the Pope mobile for? They shot him, and he. You don't remember Eddie Murphy's comment on that one?
No.
What's your rationale for shooting the Pope? I want to go to hell and I want to stand on line for everybody? What'd you do? I shot the Pope. Come right on in. I mean, come on.
A priest breaking the seal of the confessional by exposing the identity or the sin of someone confessing. A priest having sex with someone and then forgiving them for the sin of doing it with a priest. So basically the priest is like, yeah, you fucked me.
Mm-hmm.
I have to forgive you for having sex with a priest. What the fuck?
Yeah, it's crazy. But you know what? It is a big deal for the Catholic Church. You're supposed to go to confession, and the only guy that's supposed to know what you're saying is supposed to be a pipeline between the priest
and God.
Mm-hmm. And you're not supposed. Even like if you were to go to, say you're a murderer and you go to confession, and the guy knows who you are. If he's asked by the law enforcement, he has to say, "I don't know."
So another one is...
The only exception is when there's an ongoing crime, isn't there?
That I don't know. I don't know if you have to get special...
into a confession so that I'm killing people.
That might be... You might be right, Anthony. I don't know about that, but I know that you would have to go to your superiors, and then they'd have to talk to the cardinal, up to the Blue Jay, to the Robin, to the Finch, and whatever, and then they'd have to go to the Pope, and they'd have to all somehow, get special dispensation to do this. Again, I don't know. But I know that it's a big deal. You don't do that shit, huh?
Okay. Another mega sin is performing or paying for an abortion, then trying to become a priest.
It's either or. You can either have one or the other.
Wow.
And the last one is, I'm sorry. I get it, but at the same time, it's literally it's spitting out a communion wafer. That can only be absolved by the Pope.
Okay.
So if you sneeze while you're getting the body of Christ...
We'll be back after a quick break.
Hello, nerds. Come listen to the History Nerds United podcast, and let's make history fun again. We interview today's best authors, whether they are established Pulitzer Prize winners or someone debuting their first book. Let us show you that history is not a boring class you took in high school, but a place where the best stories come from. And we don't just cover history, we also love to chat about true crime, biographies, memoirs, and so much more. So head on over to History Nerds United and let us introduce you to your new favorite book and learn the story behind the story.
History Nerds United.
That's not true. God's not gonna be pissed off because you have, a little pepper up your nose.
What if you're allergic?
I think it's more of deliberate.
What if you're allergic?
If you're well, that's a different story. You can't help it. But I'm if you put on your tongue and you're like, you know what, nah, and spit it out, that's deliberate. Then the Pope has to get involved.
But yes, spitting out a communion wafer is considered worse than genocide.
Wow.
I don't know about that. On the scale of things, I think it's kind of tipped.
Well, let me ask you this much: what if the guy, bit into the host or whatever, and then bit his tooth or bit his thing and then accidentally spit it out?
I think Anthony says it right. It's deliberate, not accidental.
Oh, okay.
If he turned around, if you had an atheist put it in his mouth and be like, I don't believe in this shit, and go, poof. That's, yeah.
Do you think there's a white phone back at the priest's home? It's a hotline right to the Pope. He's like, yo, I got a mega sin.
Wow. The Pope acting
paperwork.
The Pope acting through his tribunal and its head known as the Major Penitentiary. then subsequently either grants absolution to the person seeking mercy or lets the automatic excommunication that comes with such grievous sin stand. Such cases are held privately and pseudonymously, as they are considered to be matter of conscience and not public concern, which sure is a conclusion one would reach.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so that's the darkest secrets.
So you can murder 100 million people, no excommunication. Like the priest's like, no, he's still good. He prays on Sunday. But one guy spits out a wafer once and says, I'm not sorry. And the Pope is like, you know what? Be gone.
You son of a bitch.
It just... it doesn't feel right.
No, not at all.
Priorities, people. That's all I'm saying.
If you're looking for consistency in the Catholic Church, you're not going to find it.
It's like the Pope should be like, look, I see your point. But
oh God.
So but getting back to your guy, Dad.
My guy. Okay. Part of the worst part of the Catholic secrets that they have was revealed in 1963. Okay. And I'm going to take this back to everybody knows the story of Fatima, the three girls that saw the Blessed Virgin Mary.
The secrets of Fatima, right?
Right. She gave them 3 secrets. 2 of the secrets were revealed immediately. The third one was put on hold. Apparently, the third one has been seen by every pope up to the current one, and they refuse to refuse to publish it. Now there's been speculation of what this secret means. Is it mean that there's going to be a false church in the end of time, like we're going to be somebody else will be running the church, whatever. But what it seems to be, and a lot of scholars who have seen it, and a lot of people who are speculating, they believe that the third secret is dealt with sex in the Vatican and in the church, lesbianism amongst the nuns, the priests, and I'm gonna say the molesting of the children, Satanism in the Vatican itself, which it has been proven that there's been satanic rituals being held in the Vatican by priests. Okay, and the guy who was really exposed this was Father Malachi Martin. Malachi Martin was a Jesuit priest who was a Vatican insider, and he knew a lot. He dealt with a lot of the popes. Okay, personally, he was very close to Pope John, and Pope John once made a statement and said, and the statement was, "The smoke of Satan has entered the sanctuary." Now, you couple that with the fact that this third secret may or may not be predicting what is going on in the Catholic Church. But if you put that together with all of the what has gone on since, you've had Satanism, you've had devil worship inside the Catholic Church, you had murder inside the Catholic Church, you've had the Catholic priests molesting children. I can't think of a more fucked up thing to do. But this has all gone on. This is not somebody's wishful thinking. All right. And I like to take it a step further. I think whoever is running the Catholic Church, and if it is true that she was trying to warn us that Satan is trying to overthrow the Catholic Church, I can't think of a better way than stopping the religion in its tracks. And what do I mean by that? I mean, if you notice, all of the churches and the schools, how many every year of the Catholic Church are closing their schools down?
Oh, a lot.
So where are you supposed to get these future Catholics from?
Well, at that point, it would be up to the families of themselves.
Right. You're right. You're absolutely right. But look at the church. It's been dwindling down. Attendance has been down. significantly. Churches are closing down. In Patterson, we have 1. We had 10 at one time.
There's 2.
What's the second one?
It's St. Gerard's, and isn't St. John still open?
St. John never had a school.
Oh, school. I'm sorry. You're right. School. Sorry. I thought you meant church.
Yeah.
No, St. George's has. Do we have Blessed Sacrament still open?
Yeah, I thought you said church themselves.
Right. I'm not sure if Lady of Lourdes is open, but St. Michael's is still open. They didn't have a school.
I mean, I do gotta say though, looking at all other religions,
right,
and how with the Catholic religion, especially these days, it's not as like important. You know, you have your devout people, but then most of the people are like, if I go to church, like even I'm like that. If I go to church, I go to church. You know, if I don't, I don't. To where other religions are, okay, Saturday we're going to temple, or you know, we're going here, we're going there, and we always make this, because I see that all around us.
Well, you got it in perspective. In Prospect Park, you have Muslim schools. You know, and you know they're preaching the Muslim faith in those schools as well. So, but they're not. They're promoting their religion by doing that. The Catholic Church is closing schools at a record rate. Now, who's making that decision to close these schools down? Now, a lot of people tell you, well, it's because there's less nuns. Well, of course, there's less nuns. If you have no Catholic, children being raised in the Catholic faith, less of them, they're not going to be priests. They're not going to be nuns. They're not going to promote the Catholic faith. And it's a snowball effect to where now we're at the point where you have a church and we have the one school in St. George. The only two reasons that school is still kept together is, number one, it has a gymnasium on there, and that gymnasium, if they let somebody else come in and rent that whole school, they're going to lose those events that they make a lot of money on. Now, of course, it's been, because of COVID, they've been shut down, but they were making almost $3,000 every Saturday night, to rent it out. They're not going to take that chance and give that to somebody else. And the second reason why, the only obstacle that the Catholic Church has in its way is Sister Joanne, because that nun is tireless in what she does for that school. And there's gonna come a day when she's gonna get that letter and say, we're closing the school down. We're gonna rent that school out to somebody else.
To be honest, I think she's gonna die before that day happens.
It might be. Mm-hmm. She's done so much for that school. The woman is amazing. A lot of people don't like her because she rubs in the wrong way. Too fucking bad. This woman absolutely believes in what she does, and she has a school. I've seen her out there in the middle of winter, sitting outside of that school, talking to people, because... Well,
she did that in, I think it was February or March.
Yeah.
When the school shut down, mm-hmm. She was giving paperwork to the homework, to the families that drop by.
Yeah, and the Catholic Church has one presence in this town. And then if you look around other towns, you can go up and down the Eastern Seaboard. You can do it all through the country. I urge people out there to listen to what I'm saying. If you don't have a Catholic school, and the Catholic schools are dwindling so much, where is the next generation of Catholics coming from? Where are they? They're not going to be there. And that's where I believe the Third Secret of Fatima has dealt with this. The lawsuits that are closing, that have to be paid, the real estate holdings that the Catholic Church have, they're looking to sell some of it off, because that's going to pay for these lawsuits. And what are the lawsuits? The lawsuits are from sexual harassment charges going right back to the Third Secret of Fatima. This is the stuff that drives me absolutely crazy. It's right in front of us, and nobody is looking at this. And if that's the case, it's fueled by the fact that whoever's running the Catholic Church is promoting this, not caring about it, and turning a blind eye. And if it is Satanism, and it's the right people that are out there doing it, I know that people don't want to hear this, but if that's the case, then the Catholic Church has to do an exorcism of their entire church. The Pope has to come down on these people. You have to get rid of them. You have to root the evil out from the Vatican itself. And I don't know if it just might be too late. It really just might be. I'm praying to God it isn't, because we need. Look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm a holy roller by any stretch of the imagination. I have my problems with the Catholic Church like anybody else.
But there's a difference, though. I don't like when people say that, because you could be a faithful person, you could have faith and still disagree with the Catholic Church.
You can, but if you're going to be a Catholic, then you have to partake in some of the stuff that they're going to do. You have to follow the sacraments, which I do. Well, I have all my sacraments up to date, whatever. Okay, just like my shots, they're all up to date. All right. I don't believe in abortion. I find it reprehensible. I find that a lot of stuff that they stand for. Now, am I perfect? Absolutely. Okay, absolutely not. I don't go to church on Sunday. I'm a lapsed Catholic, but that doesn't mean that I don't believe in certain things and there's lines that I won't cross, because there are lines I will not cross. And I don't care who's running the show. If the Pope, they want to change rules all over the place, that's fine. I go back to St. Peter. I go back to when he started the Catholic Church, what the Catholic Church was all about. And up until Vatican II, the Catholic Church was steadfast. They were strict.
Was a sequel?
Vatican II is the council, the Vatican Council.
Vatican II, the Reckoning.
They decided that they weren't going to say Mass in Latin anymore. They used to say Mass in Latin with their backs to the parishioners. That all changed after Vatican II, the Vatican II Council. Now, I'm getting a little off topic, and I understand that, but it's all intertwined. And Malachi Martin discovered this stuff, and the books that he wrote, The Keys of His Blood, Hostage to the Devil. He was a Vatican insider. He was also an exorcist. Very, very close to Father Amorth. He was very close to Carmelino. I can't think of the guy's name now. He was another exorcist. All right. And apparently he was rubbing the people the wrong way. And then one day, all of a sudden, he was thrown off a rooftop. And nobody...
Was it during an exorcism? Or
no.
Okay.
Okay. He lived in New York. The Pope, I forgot which Pope it was, but gave him... there was a couple of vows he did. I think the vow of charity or poverty. He lifted that from so he could make money on these books, so he can go out and preach, the word of the Lord, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, and being that he was very close to the popes, they granted him this, which is very hard to get, but he got it. And he, if you go back and you listen to some of the interviews that Art Bell did with him, they're frightening. They're frightening in the stuff that he comes out with. And the people that he was accusing and dealing with, the darkness that this stuff has brought out, is very, very scary. Very scary. It's almost like, this could be a horror movie at some point. And you know what?
It probably will be.
There's a lot there. There's a lot there. I just personally think that, where there's smoke, there's fire. And for me, closing down Catholic schools and, paying lawsuits in millions and millions of dollars to people that were molested, and with the known Satanistic activity that we know that was in the church, that's been in the Vatican, that's well documented, and I'm not going into it here. You can do your own homework, whoever's listening to this.
We're almost set.
Okay. And it's just, it's frightening. It's extremely frightening. And that's my personal belief, that the Catholic Church is being shut down for a reason. The wrong people, and, the Blessed Virgin Mary warned us. And, of course, they didn't release the third secret of Fatima, so who's going to know this? Because it was so frightening, they didn't want the people to panic. And it's all coming to fruition right in front of us. And there's going to be a time when there's going to be no Catholic Church. And who's going to have brought it down? Satanists.
Oh, the very people that were inside.
Exactly.
Well,
and I was hoping that the third secret would have something to do with the Colonel's recipe.
Fucking asshole, man. Like, he really is an asshole.
Yeah, that's a little much.
I don't think... Never mind. I'm not getting into it. But yeah. I think we should do a part 2 somewhere down the line.
Well, I'm more, look, there's a lot more we can get into doing this. I'd love to go into Father Padre Pio with the exorcism. I want to lean more to that aspect of it.
Yeah, we could do a whole show on exorcism.
There's a lot there. And, it all has to do, I mean, I can just give you a little insight. The Keys to This Blood were all about a live satanic mass that was being done in North Carolina. That's part of what was going on with Malachi Martin. He exposed all that. And
holy shit.
Yeah. You got to read, like, I read Hostage to the Devil. I got it right there. I'm looking at it as we speak. The Keys to This Blood. I also read that book. I don't have it, but I had read it once before. Phenomenal book. Phenomenal. And the more there's a great documentary. It's called The Hostage to the Devil, all about Malachi Martin from the people who knew him best. I believe it's on Netflix. And if you can't get it, I know it's on YouTube. I urge people to watch that because it'll tell you everything about the man and everything, what he stood for and what he was doing. And I truly believe the man was murdered because he pissed a lot of people off, the wrong people.
I can see that.
You know what strikes me as amazing? The fact that the Catholic Church is a billion-dollar corporation. Mm-hmm. I mean that in a very loose term, right? Because I'm not trying to be disrespectful here. But it's a billion-dollar corporation based off of faith. There has been murders and scandals and laundering and all these terrible things.
Right.
But to somebody who doesn't believe in anything of like the Catholic faith, mm-hmm. it's meaningless.
Right.
Like if somebody is a devout Muslim, right, or someone is a Hindu,
right,
doesn't matter what the Catholic faith is doing. It doesn't apply to their life. It doesn't mean anything to them, mm-hmm. despite all the crap that I just listed. To them, it means absolutely nothing.
And
I think that's amazing.
You're right. And the stuff that they do care about would be the first thing you're going to talk to. Like, you talk to a person of another faith, and they're going to say, yeah, isn't that the religion? They're molesting their own children. It's all the negative shit that gets out. And they don't care, like you said, they don't care one way or another what's going on. They got to worry about their own religion if, in fact, they have a religion. But what a sad situation where the Catholic Church, and you talk about it, you say, well, okay, he's a Catholic priest. And what's the first thing that rattles around your mind?
Molestation.
Kid diddler.
I mean, exactly. So this is the shit that has to be changed over time. And I pray to God that it's not too late. I really do. If in fact the third secret of Fatima is correct, and everything that I just pointed out to you is correct, the Catholic Church got a major problem. And they need to root it out.
Well, they've had a major problem for years, though.
They have. But you need to start with, you want to make this religion last. And you want to make, you want to continue having the Catholic faith progress. You need to start rooting out the shit that's taking it down.
Unfortunately, in that aspect, though, I don't think you're going to get it from within the Vatican or the Catholic Church itself. It's going to have to come from the people. It's going to have to come from parishioners. It's going to have to come from the faithfully devoted to their religion.
And how many of them believe what I just told you?
Probably not a lot.
Right, exactly.
I have no idea.
Exactly. You're going to get people like, oh, come on.
Here's
Mom in general. Like, I guarantee she doesn't believe any of that shit.
No, because first of all, she's 80, 82, whatever. She's not going to believe in stuff like this. She's set in her ways. She doesn't care. All she knows is she goes to church, get the host, goes home, and she's good for another week. By Friday, she's already got a whole list of sins she can report to the priest on a Saturday, and on Sunday, bingo, there you go. I'm off. I'm good for another week. It's a week by week. She talk about living paycheck to paycheck. She lives host to host. That's how you look at it. That's how I look at it. And she's not, but she's 82. So when she closes her eyes, who's replacing her? What child is coming up now that's going to be a priest, that's going to look at the priest and go, you know what? I feel that I need to do that. None. You're not getting them. No one to do. You got to go. It's like you got to find these priests. They're bringing them in from India now, because a certain Indian has a little bit more priests out there for whatever reason. But even that's dwindling. And then they come here, and then, you know, if you close a church, you don't need that many. But the more churches you close, the less people you're going to have, the less money you're going to bring in, the less of a future for the church. I don't see a long term for this church.
Pessimistic view on this. I think all religions are destined to collapse eventually. I have no problem having faith, and I do have my own sort of set beliefs, but there's nothing that's ever going to last forever. And I don't think that even something as big as the Catholic Church is going to last forever. Mm-hmm. Eventually, they're going to cause their own demise, and something, we have no idea what it is, but something is going to replace it.
Well, you could say that about just anything, though.
I know that, but just like hundreds of years ago, people believed in the gods on Olympics. Or, the Egyptian gods. Like, that was it. That was their faith. That's what they knew. And then a new religion came and replaced it. And this took thousands of years.
Right.
But it happened. And right now the church is a little over 2,000 years old.
Right.
And I'm not saying it's time to collapse and let a new king reign, but I don't think it's going to be around forever.
I agree.
And one of the things I absolutely, completely agree with is a quote by Ricky Gervais. And he said, if you remove all religion from the planet, completely gone, and you and you remove all science at the same time, you let a couple thousand years go by, all the scientific facts we know now will be rediscovered in the same exact way. The facts will remain, but religion will never duplicate itself in the same way.
You're right. I agree with you.
It's true, but I don't know. I feel
it's what we got for now.
Yeah, I feel like.
Well, there's a lot more. There's a lot more to this, and I do. I'm gonna call around to some people that I might know. Like we're gonna do the episode with David. About law enforcement and stuff like that. But David's also he's a Baptist preacher. He was in the army. He was actually the chaplain. So the guy's got his, he knows a lot. He's not Catholic, but he's Baptist. And I'd love to get his take on this. I would love to get a priest that would be willing to sit down with us and talk about this. I don't think they're going to believe a damn thing. They're going to agree with anything I just said. Because in their mind, it's no, it could be, I don't know what they're going to say.
Well, when you're playing on that team, you don't shit on the team.
That's true. And that's why, maybe coming from who I'd like to get in here? Father Frank.
Father George?
No,
Father Frank.
Father Frank's not a priest anymore. And he wasn't exactly the most priestly of guys anyway.
Well, when you stab another priest with the crucifix, you're not going to be invited back to church.
Maybe we don't want to have him as a guest. I don't know. But I would like to have his perspective.
Is that a mega sin?
I would like to have his
perspective. It would seem to me that would be a mega sin.
It would be. Yeah, it would be. But again, who knows? I don't know.
So you can't fuck a priest, but you can stab one? Like with the crucifix?
That's what it was reported.
Oh, dear God.
I think there's some paperwork in Rome on him right now. It's some bureaucracy. They're figuring the situation out.
Yeah. Well,
like they're weighing it. Like, hey, he didn't stab him, but he didn't fuck him.
I think that's where we'll end this episode today. I think it was a pretty interesting episode. I don't know what we're doing next week. I'll definitely post it online. Go follow us at on Facebook at Is This Real Podcast. Also go follow Green Hour Media.
Twitter.
Well, next week, Joe, next week's episode should be the one with Art Sola.
What episode is that again?
That's the one where we were doing the upstate New York with the UFOs and stuff.
Oh, yeah, but we didn't go.
We didn't go where?
We didn't go to upstate New York.
No, but we did the episode with him, remember?
Yeah, that's no.
Where did that episode wind up?
Dad, you can't plug a episode that's going to be past this episode, and now we're fucking it all up.
This episode will premiere after that.
Right.
Yeah, so it's not next week's episode, you dickhead.
Oh, it's last week's episode.
So everyone, go back and listen.
Sorry, folks, I'm new to this bullshit. We do these, a little in advance, but that's okay.
Yeah. So, like I was saying, go follow our Facebook page. Go follow our Instagram page. It's As This Real Podcast. Go follow our YouTube page, which is Green Hour Media. And also go follow the Facebook Green Hour Media page also. We'll keep you updated on all those. Thanks you guys for listening, and thanks for coming on this podcast. I'll see you on Green Arrow.
Always fun.
And Dad, see you next week.
All right.